I'm not a lefty, guys, but today's videos, hopefully all sides can agree on. The first video we have today is Bernie Sanders talking about the murder of Charlie Kirk, the rise in political violence. This one's going to be amazing. It's got 8 million views nearly. And of course, the next video is going to be talking about Bassem Youssef versus Piers Morgan. Bassem Youssef obviously absolutely roasting Piers Morgan once again. But let's get the first video out the way. This is Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, an absolute legend in the United States. Now, I think he sold out a little bit when he backed Hillary Clinton. That was his worst thing he's ever done. But before that, I did truly believe in a lot of the stuff this guy was saying. I did like him, and he's a socialist. Would you look at that, guys? Far right, but County Gaines isn't so far right anymore. It says here, a free society relies on the premise that people can speak out without fear or humiliation. No more political violence. I love it.
Thank you very much for joining me. I want to say a few words regarding the terrible murder yesterday of Charlie Kirk, someone who I strongly disagreed with on almost every issue, but who was clearly a very smart and effective communicator and organizer, and someone unafraid to get out into the world and engage the public. My condolences go out to his wife and his family. A free and democratic society, which is what America is supposed to be about, depends upon the basic premise that people can speak out, organize, and take part in public life without fear, without worrying that they might be killed, injured, or humiliated for expressing their political views. In fact, that is the essence of what freedom is about and what democracy is about. You have a point of view, that's great. I have a point of view that is different than yours. That's great. Let's argue it out. We make our case to the American people at the local, state, and federal levels, and we hold free elections in which the people decide what they want. That's called freedom and democracy.
Yes.
And I want as many people as possible to participate in that process without fear.
Wow.
Freedom and democracy is not about political violence. It is not about assassinating public officials. It is not about trying to intimidate people who speak out on an issue. Political violence, in fact, is political cowardice. It means that you cannot convince people of the correctness of your ideas.
100%.
And you have to impose them through force.
That's fascism.
Every American, no matter what one's political point of view may be, must condemn all forms of political violence and all forms of intimidation. We must welcome and respect dissenting points of view. That's what our Constitution is about. That's what our Bill of Rights is about. That, in fact, is what freedom is about. The murder of Charlie Kirk is part of a disturbing rise in political violence that threatens to hollow out public life and make people afraid of participating. From the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol, to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, to the attack on Paul Pelosi, to the attempted kidnapping of Michigan Governor Whitmer, to the murder of Minnesota's Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, to the arson attack on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, to the shooting of United Health Executive Brian Thompson,
big time,
and the shooting several years ago of Representative Steve Scalise. This chilling rise in violence has targeted public officials across the political spectrum. Sadly, this is not a new phenomenon. We all remember the assassinations of President Kennedy, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Senator Robert F. Kennedy, John Lennon, Medgar Evers, and the attempted assassinations of President Ronald Reagan and Alabama Governor George Wallace. This is a difficult and contentious moment in American history. Democracy in our country and throughout the world is under attack. And there are a lot of reasons for that which need serious discussion. But bottom line, if we honestly believe in democracy, if we believe in freedom, all of us must be loud and clear. Political violence, regardless of ideology, is not the answer and must be condemned. Thank you very much.
So obviously absolutely amazing. Bernie Sanders, big left wing. I believe he's like actually a socialist guy. So amazing speech by him. I've been following him since like day one, guys. Since I got into politics like 14 years old. I remember watching Jesse Ventura, who's a conspiracy theorist, you know, governor of Minnesota, this kind of thing. But obviously at the same time, people around me were into Bernie Sanders and, you know, his sort of left-wing ideology. But he's 100% correct, guys. And whether it's left or right violence, he talked about a left-wing violence there, an attempted kidnapping of Michigan Governor Whitney, and the assassination, the attack of Pennsylvania Governor, the shooting of United Health Executive Brian Thompson, Representative, yeah, all these different shootings on the left or right are absolutely horrendous and should be condemned. But he said it, guys. He said, you know, at the very beginning, free speech is what the US is about. You know, their basic premise is that people can speak out, they can have an opinion without worrying that they might get killed, guys. You know, this is the thing. Like, even whether you live in Europe or you live in the US or whatever, you know, your political opinions should be absolutely perfect, no matter what they are. And you shouldn't be afraid of violence or humiliation or anything just for expressing your political ideology, you know, plain and simple. Now, obviously, like I said before, guys, you know, the woke left are absolutely insane. And those are the people, along with the extreme right, these people on the extremes, for the most part, want to hurt people, kill people, that kind of thing. And it's obviously not the way things should be going in this country. Completely insane, that stuff. The next video we have here, of course, is one of my favorite people on this channel. I have many videos made by him, Bassem Youssef. Go check him out. I believe he's Egyptian, roasting Piers Morgan on the war in the Middle East once again. This one's going to be good. I've made like countless videos on this, guys, but of course I have to reiterate my left-wing liberal talking points because people think I'm one thing and we're going to be throwing you guys a curveball, because this is what I believe 100%. Bassem Youssef is absolutely legendary and he's correct with everything he says here, so let's watch it.
What is your view of the Charlie Kirk assassination?
Oh, assassination is bad. I mean, it's a very open question. And so if you're talking about the assassination, of course it's bad. But can you get more specific? What do you want me to say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the more specific one would be, I've been appalled. I didn't agree with everything Charlie Kirk stood for or said, but I respected the fact that he always went in to college campuses in particular and invited everyone who disagreed with him to come and debate with him.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing as well. Like, you know, when we talk about Charlie Kirk, guys, I don't know anybody that agreed with most of the stuff that he said. I pretty much agree with only like 10% of a lot, maybe 30% of the stuff that Charlie Kirk was saying. A lot of the stuff was good. He was a based guy. He was more right-leaning, more conservative, which is great to see. But at the same time, like, yeah, he had some ideology that was pushed as well that wasn't correct, in my opinion. But hey, literally the woke lefties are the worst because they kill them, you know, and that's how you know who's on the worst side, is the people trying to kill you for your political opinion. Obviously, it's the woke left, the crazies.
He was always happy to hear other people giving their views and would challenge them, and they would challenge him. And I was appalled that the woke left, as I see it, as opposed to the old liberal left, in which I used to be a happy member.
Everybody used to be a liberal left, libertarian, this kind of thing. Not anymore. Everyone that's now, everyone that was liberal left is, of course, right-leaning, more conservative. And now the liberal left have gone crazy woke left. It's gotten so extreme now, so polarized, so divisive.
The woke left seem to be gleeful about his murder and have raced to social media to celebrate it. We've seen rap stars do it. We've seen TikTokers do it. Influencers do it. All over the world, competing with each other to see who can be the most gleeful. We've seen teachers, doctors, you know, university administrators and so on. I'm at a complete loss to understand how any human being with any sense of humanity would want to be seen celebrating the murder of a 31-year-old man with his wife and 2 kids watching at the time for his opinions.
I mean, it's terrible, of course. I mean, celebrate anybody's death, whether it's a 31 years old father or babies and children in Gaza every day, where we have seen the woke left and the right are celebrating the death of children every single day and nothing happened to them. I mean, first of all, when you say the woke left, who are these people? Are they like, who are the leaders? Bunch of pop stars and influencers and people with TikTok, and I mean, does that represent?
Well, I think it's more. Well, I would say it's more than that. I'd say there's a lot of people who I think have been part of what I call the woke ideology in the last few years, which has morphed from a very laudable thing originally. When in the 60s and 70s, it started in American black music, and it was about promoting a raised awareness of social and racial injustice. I wrote a book about it. By that criteria, I'm happily woke. But what it's morphed into in recent years, driven, I think, by very tribal social media, is it's become a form of fascism, where people on the woke left are quite happy to want to shame and vilify and cancel and destroy people for having a different view to them.
Yeah, 100%. That's literally the definition right there of the woke left.
Whether that view is about historical figures or about books or about movies or about fashion or about hairstyles or what you can wear on Halloween or whatever it may be.
True.
It became a puritanical purge, which I felt has bordered on fascism. And at the heart of it was the constant description of Donald Trump as the new Hitler, his supporters as the new Nazis. They're all a bunch of fascists. And eventually you have a young, deranged mind who apparently, according to investigators, is of a woke ideology, radicalized, who initialed on the bullets that this was an anti-fascism assassination, because he probably believed that Charlie Kirk was a fascist and a Nazi and everything else, because that's what his people had told him. And I feel that's an incredibly dangerous cocktail that has been allowed to happen. And when I saw the celebrations going on, I realized it wasn't just about this shooter, that there were a lot of people in America, in the UK, around the world, who actually agree and were prepared to celebrate it.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything there. Absolutely. Piers got it right for once.
Well, let's break this down. Now, when you say the left is very general, if you have thousands of people with TikTok accounts that celebrate people's death, it happens on the right and on the left. Mm-hmm. There are people who have like mocked the death of the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband and her dog that were shot in front of their 4 years old.
Yeah, that was horrendous as well. That was absolutely terrible. People were mocking that, like, because she was left wing, and yeah, that's disgusting too, guys. Anyone that gets killed for their political opinions is ridiculous.
Again, I just like want to preface it, like I'm not condoning what happened to Charlie Kirk. What happened is terrible. It should not be accepted. And myself, I will never celebrate something like that. But like, I'm a little bit confused because someone like Randy Fine, who's a congressman from Florida, who posted about going after people's jobs if they mock Charlie's death online, which is terrible, of course, like if you mock anybody's death. But the fact that you go after someone, it's very confusing to me because for those of you who don't know who Randy Fine is, he is the fat bitch who continues to suck Israel dick every day on a daily basis. And that guy, he is in Gaza, like he said, everyone in Gaza should die. Kill them all, let the blood fall in Gaza. They are animals. And now he pretends to have a soul. That this kind of manufactured selective rage that will confuse. If you're going to have...
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's sort of like this cognitive dissonance. In one sense, he's like, well, it's so bad that Charlie Kirk got killed. But also in another sense, you're mocking people dying in the Middle East every single day. You know, and it's just disgusting.
Please, if you're going to be angry, please. But just like be consistent. We have people losing their jobs, their careers, getting cancers for being dismissive about Charlie death. Again, terrible to do. But I don't get it because I thought canceling something is what the hippie PC left would do.
Yeah, and I said it in the video yesterday. We were talking about some guy. I don't personally agree with someone losing their job because, you know, you made fun of their death. Now, obviously, that's kind of like a woke left thing to do. But at the same time, there is consequences for what you say. Like if you're mocking somebody on the internet, that's not, you know, without repercussions, you know.
I don't condone making insensitive remarks about a guy who was just murdered. We can discuss his ideas. We can praise or trash his ideas because his ideas will live on forever. But if some people are insensitive or rude, well, he was a public figure. For many people, he was a controversial figure. If today Biden or Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton died or got shot, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will celebrate their death. If I got shot today, I am sure there are millions of people around the globe who who would travel in my death, and they make like content that we call insensitive. I'm sure that if you died, Piers Morgan, people would be celebrating. So I don't understand. Like, yes, we can talk about it being insensitive, terrible. We can talk about it with a moral issue, but I don't understand the double standards of the West.
Well, I think
it's true. I agree with that. The double standards are horrendous. Like, if someone gets killed, whatever, and then for him it was like this big outrage. I do definitely agree. It should have been an outrage, absolutely. But to lose your job and stuff like that, I personally don't really care. I mean, it's a bit weird to me that people would be celebrating a guy they don't even know about his death because they didn't like his ideas. That to me is extremely odd, but definitely there is a cognitive dissonance right there. It's like the double standard, right?
Dude, listen, I think on that, Bassem, finish.
Because for years, we as Muslims and Arabs, we were lectured from the West about freedom of expression, freedom to offend. It's very important. Freedom to offend. But for years, people made fun of Muslims, Arabs, our religion, our culture, our babies and children being killed in Gaza every single day. And no one lost a single minute of sleep over it, which is very confusing to me because the lines between what is legal, what is allowed, what is accepted, what is punishable, what is frowned upon, these are lines seem hazy. So please, yes, go, rage, like be angry about it, but like be consistent so people can believe you.
You know, I think you make a very good point. I've seen some of the hounding of certain people out of jobs in the last few days is clearly hypocritical, because unless you're actually condoning the murder and endorsing and supporting an act of criminal murder, if you're just criticising Charlie Kirk for positions that he held, I think that's perfectly okay, right? I may not like it if you're a friend of Charlie's or one of his family members, but he would be the first to say, that's fine. Where I think the line is for me with cancel culture, if you like, is that there's a guy, for example, who's the president-elect of the Oxford Union Debating Society. I think you've done it, Bassem, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right, so we've both done that. It's probably the most famous debating society in the world. The whole point of it is that they bring people into that chamber to debate, to have different opinions and debate, as you and I do regularly. And the president-elect, after Charlie Kirk was murdered, having debated opposite Charlie Kirk in that chamber in May himself, actually gleefully celebrated the murder, said LOL, and said, let's fucking go, with a big exclamation mark, right? That to me, it's not cancel culture to say that guy should not be the president of the Oxford Union Debating Society. Clearly, he should not be the president of a debating society if he celebrates somebody being murdered for their opinions.
Yeah, there is that point as well, guys. Like, obviously, like, if you're someone in a leadership position, like, let's say, I don't know, you're a doctor or something, and you're like, yeah, like, this guy flipping got killed. Do you want that guy as a doctor? You know, it definitely brings up questions about people. But like I said, like, if you're working a shop or something and you're like celebrating the guy's death, you know, your opinion doesn't really hold that much weight. But if your opinion holds a lot of weight and you're literally celebrating, yes, let's go, this guy's dead, it is questioning your job position, your professionality in that position, you know.
Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, but let's say if we agree on that, let's agree on everything else. So everybody who holds a position who mocks the death of Palestinian children being killed every day in front of cameras, they should lose their job too. You understand?
I agree with that too. If you're mocking kids getting killed in Gaza, I mean, that's disgusting. I've talked about this. That was one of my first political videos ever. I talked about that 2 years ago. You can check that video out. And again, another left-wing position from Chris. Absolutely.
Understand why it's difficult for me to be on the same page with you? Because this is like cherry picking. Like, you
you haven't asked me if I agree with you.
No,
I don't disagree. I think if you're a doctor, let me explain. If you're a Harvard professor, or you're a doctor, or you're a teacher, and you glorify or celebrate the murder, or depending which side you're on, whether you see it as murder or, you know, collateral damage as you go after Hamas, whatever you want to call it. But if you are seen celebrating
you had
the
to
death,
mention Hamas there, right?
I'm just showing you.
You had to just
No.
You just
You
have
know
to
my
mention
view of
Hamas,
this.
right?
No, Bassem, no. I'm simply
You
saying.
just have to mention Hamas.
I'm simply saying
I remember,
there are
I
many
remember
Wait a
you were-
minute.
yeah.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
The reason I clarified, there are many people who believe what the IDF has been doing with civilians is murder and genocide. There are others on the pro-Israeli side who believe that they are targeting a terror group in Hamas and that innocent people will get killed in the process. Therefore, it's not murder. So
Well, they're wrong.
I'm clarifying the two sides of that debate. You have a strong view. Other people have an equally strong view the other way. But my point being, if you're in a position of
There's no two sides of genocide. Yeah.
I
There's
know.
no two sides of the Holocaust.
I
There's
know.
no two sides. Seriously. So let's stop two-siding it because it's becoming exhausting.
Okay, let's not get into that part of the debate. The part I want to agree with you about is this. I think if you're an administrator of a university or a hospital or a school, if you're in charge of teaching people or medical practice, and you are seen celebrating the deaths of innocent people publicly on social media, you should not keep your job, right? Because clearly you are unfit for that job, and it should be down to the people who run these organisations to say, sorry, no, you don't get to teach kids if you glorify murder.
Well, there are people who are teaching kids on the left who glorified, like, hey, happy 5th anniversary for George Floyd. He's 5 years sober because he's dead for 5 years. I mean, the thing is, my thing is, if we're going to live in a utopian, polite society, let's make it.
I don't agree with people on the right saying happy 5 years sober, that kind of thing, George Floyd. I don't agree with that shit either. Making fun of people that are dying is not good. But there's a clear distinction of people as well. Like obviously Charlie Kirk was discussing ideas and certain other people were criminals, like active criminals. They were consistent criminals and they didn't add anything to society, right?
Gender. The idea of just like cherry picking things
I don't
like
disagree.
that. Because,
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, here's the thing. This is the internet, Piers. The internet will always promote the most hateful, the most controversial.
True that.
This is how social media, there's like a whole kind of scoring system. A like would be 1 point, an angry face would be 5 points. This is what the internet, this is what boils up to the surface. It's always like that. If people say, oh, Charlie was a good man, I hope he is in heaven, that will not get a lot of traction. But people with more controversial, this is just a function of the internet. But if you're gonna talk the internet, people all go on Twitter and they just write whatever on their mind. But if you're gonna punish people with whatever on their mind, so we need, I think, to expand this spectrum. And let me read something that Charlie Kirk himself tweeted, talking about free speech. Because in April, he said, tomorrow the House will vote on H.R. 867, a bill that will criminalize private boycotting of Israel, fines up to $1 million and prison up to 20 years. Bills like this only create more anti-Semitism and play into growing narratives that Israel is running the U.S. government. In America, you are allowed to hold differing views. You are allowed to disagree and protest. You're allowed to too many people who hate America to move here from abroad, but the right to speak freely is the birthright of all Americans. This bill should not pass. Any Republicans that vote for this bill will expose themselves. We will be watching very closely. And then it's very interesting that
Yeah, that's one of the things I do not agree with Charlie Kirk on. A lot of stuff I didn't agree with him on.
The last 3 days after Charlie Kirk was killed, in the past 3 days, the Congress approved $650 million for Israel for missile defense. They presented an amendment that bans Pentagon from boycotting Israel. And they even proposed a bill to allow Marco Rubio to revoke citizenships for people critical of Israel.
Who can agree with that stuff? Nobody. Nobody agrees with that stuff. And that's horrendous, lads.
This is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to talk about. If there are people there who celebrated the Pope would kill people, it's been going on for years. Even when the Pope if he died, people celebrate his death.
Yeah.
This is words. Yeah, it could be terrible, offensive words, but when you turn words into destroying people's careers, revoking people's citizenship because they talk about a foreign country, this is the real problem. This is the real problem with freedom of speech. That's it. Not about people celebrating or angry about someone who died. All right, our roads and infrastructures, our education system, our healthcare, they're failing. While settlers in the West Bank, they occupy Palestine, they get free housing, get free healthcare, free education. Same in England. And I'm sorry, but you as a very famous and a very able and a very competent investigative reporters, I think you should actually talk about why more than half of your cabinet in the British government is financed by Israel. Why the Royal Army, the Royal Air Force are giving logistical help to Israeli planes bombing Gaza. I'm sure that there's not a single British person who would agree on that. Isn't that more
That's absolutely insane, lads.
important than this kind of manufactured rage? I mean, why don't you talk about like
Well,
this is
okay,
your
but
tax money?
okay.
Aren't you worried? No, but like seriously.
I hear you.
I'm very, very curious. Yeah, but why don't you talk about this?
But Bassem, as you know, I talk about the war all the time. And as
you never talked
and
about
as you
the
probably
Israeli
know,
lobby financing your British
well, there are always
You
lots.
never did.
All right, there are always lots.
You
of
never did.
Okay, but there are lots.
You
of,
never did.
Okay, but I've also been, as you know, increasingly critical of the Israeli government. You can't accuse me of being biased.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're not fooling me, Piers. I'm sorry because like I came on your show many times. I discussed October 7th. Many people came to you and asked you, and people said, "Oh, Piers Morgan have like changed the mind." I'm sorry. It doesn't fool me for a second.
It's not about changing my mind.
I'm sorry. You and the Western media have been complicit in diverting and deflecting the truth and the facts. You are actually the real Iron Dome of Israel. You pretend to ask tough questions for the Israeli to maintain your credibility, but like you, over the past 2 years, you had laundering Zionist talking points. You never investigated the Hannibal Directive. You never questioned why it took them 6 hours to respond. You never used the Hannibal Directive.
Well, how many times have I had you on the show?
No.
Well, how many times?
Don't throw.
How many times have you been
It doesn't
on?
matter. No. It's not about.
You say I never
it's
question
about
these
you.
things. I platformed you multiple times, and you
No,
have talked about this every time, right? So you have been doing that on my show. Literally, you have been doing that on my show.
And you effectively sabotage these interviews. I brought up in your interviews many times Asa Whitestand, who's a British reporter who talked in length about the rape hoax, about the Hannibal Directive, and he was raided by British police. They took his laptop, and I asked you twice on your show to bring him on your show to talk to you about how the Israeli propaganda lies are all lies, but you never did. If you actually were actually honest about this, you would do this. Not about platforming. I mean, you platforming people, it's good for views, it's good for reach. But like, I'm sorry, it's about like how many times did Ben Shapiro come on your show and he talked about moral equivalency? There's no moral equivalency. There's no moral equivalency. Well,
he thinks there is.
Yeah. He said there's no moral equivalency between Hamas and Israel. He said that.
That's
but
right.
the thing is, if any journalist who had read a little bit, who would say, well, Noam Chomsky said that moral equivalency is a propaganda term that was used in order to prevent us from looking to our action. So we turn people into bad guys and good guys. The bad guys, even if he's occupied, he deserves to be killed. The good guys, even if they nuke them, it's okay because it's the good guys. You see, this is how you do the conversation. It's not about platforming.
You think Ben Shapiro? Listen, Bassem. You think Ben Shapiro is very partisan to the Israeli position? I wouldn't disagree. I don't think he would disagree. But many people think you are very partisan the other way, and that your hatred of all things Israel leads you to say things. Well, leads you. Hang on. Leads you to say things. Leads you to say things like this. This is what you said about the Charlie Kirk murder in relation. Many people think you were implying something about Israel. Here, let's take a listen.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk is an obvious hit job, what happened there. But will we get the answer? No. They will stick it to whatever and then use it. I don't know, maybe they would stick it to Iran like Netanyahu and his people, the Israeli wire and the others were pushing for Iran being the culprit behind Trump's assassination. They can do that to Charlie Kirk and start a war, or stick it to the left and start a civil war. There's anger, and there were people who would use this anger.
So Bassem, just to be clear, who committed the hit job on Charlie Kirk?
So he was basically trying to imply that, if Trump goes at the left, then he'll start a civil war. If he goes at the right and the country in the Middle East, then he'll be correct.
I don't know, but I find it very interesting that Netanyahu, Prime Minister of a country, went around the TV shows making sure that we didn't kill. I mean, this is like a very weird position.
So are you suggesting Israel did?
Have you ever? No, I'm not suggesting.
But you are suggesting that, aren't you?
Because the FBI is lying to us. The FBI has been lying to us.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you an example.
But why don't you be honest in a way? You always want everybody else to be honest. Why don't you be honest and admit that when you say Charlie Kirk's murder was clearly a hit job, and then you start talking immediately about Netanyahu denying it was him, that you believe, or you want people to think.
I have doubts.
You want people to think it may be an Israel hit job.
I have doubts. Because, look at the facts.
Why on earth would it be an Israel hit job? We know who it was.
I am not sure. I don't know. Well, another patsy, 22 years old, jerking off in his mom's basement. I mean, another like Trump. I mean, here's the thing: the FBI, has been lying to us. They have been covering for, like, they told us about the Epstein file, which is Israel is clearly involved, and then they said there's no Epstein file. Epstein, like, Israel has been like holding 98% of the Congress hostage, either with money or blackmail. And
yeah, the Epstein files Trump should have released as well. I mean, massive flipping screw up there. He also didn't release the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, guys, but they're not releasing these files, and it's what he basically won the election on.
you cannot dispute that. And actually, if you want to dispute that, here's like a little case for you. In that last month, a guy by the name of Tom Alexandrovich, he was the head of cybersecurity in Netanyahu's government, right? And this guy is not a random guy. He's like part of the Netanyahu government. And he was caught in Nevada in a FBI sting child sex operation, trying to lure a 15 years old minor. That guy was protected by the DA, who's Israeli, by the way, in Nevada, and he went on that plane and he missed his trial. Now, you come to me and you tell me all of these things, like when people are raving about Israeli Mossad and how they're infiltrating now, and then suddenly we have to believe that they're innocent. I mean, not a single mainstream outlet talk about Tom Alexandrovich. So now you have pedophiles coming into our country.
Actually, I've read that story. I've read that story on multiple mainstream media outlets.
No, not a single one. Go to ChatGPT right now. And
I'm very familiar with that story.
No. Yeah, you have seen them on Young Turks. You have seen them on Breaking Points. You have seen them on those independent media outlets. You have seen them on podcasts.
I read it on The Guardian.
Yeah, The Guardian. I'm talking about American mainstream, right? American, and also American mainstream. Not a single comedian in late night show even discussed.
Wow, that's insane. Not one single comedian in the late night talk show.
Question is it, when you have this cover up by the FBI, when the FBI let a pedophile from Israel flies back to Israel, while also Israel is known to be holding the biggest number of pedophiles escaping from justice, having refuge there. All of these things, doesn't make you like, what the hell? This is like a whole cover-up.
Well, it does, but then it does, Bassem. But then when I see you say Charlie Kirk's murder was clearly a hit job and you imply it's Israel, I think you've lost your mind.
Maybe I did. Like I lost my mind when I told you about the Hannibal Directive, and then I came.
No, I think there's merit to the Hannibal Directive story.
Oh, there's merit.
Yeah,
there's
but I think you're completely.
Because I remember you making fun of me, and you telling me you showed me just a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, unlike you, Bassem.
So now you changing your mind.
My views of things evolve.
Piers Morgan flip-flops a lot, guys. A lot. He flip-flops a lot.
Or when I see new information. It's called being a journalist.
Really? Why don't you do your job as a journalist and actually talk
What
about
you mean is, why don't I smear... What you would like me to do as a journalist is only focus on anti-Israel stuff. And that's fine. That's what you want to do.
No. I'm saying that you're not asking the right questions because you...
Well, maybe you're a better journalist than I am.
No, I'm not a better. Like I am I'm just like a normal guy looking in the internet. But let me ask you a question. You always talk about hostages, and then Israel goes to Qatar and bomb the negotiating team about hostages.
Yeah, that was crazy. They bombed Qatar the last day. Like, that's, again, insane stuff.
While you, for 2 years, you were always like, what about the hostages? At this point, and here's my
Why don't you ask me what I think of that? Given I've literally interviewed today Israel's UN ambassador, Danny Danon, about the attack in Doha.
About time.
Why don't you ask me what I think first? Before you make... No, Bassem, I'm sorry. Before you make presumptions about what I think about it, why don't you ask me what I think about it?
It's not about presumptions. You have actually laundered a lot of Zionist talking points, and you never asked the tough question. You ask the tough question now when it is fashionable.
So why do I get so many Zionists?
Yeah, when it's fashionable. Like, when I made videos 2 years ago on this, bro, I think I was the only person on YouTube in Ireland basically that said that. The video got like nearly 200,000 views, probably more now, but I was not fashionable to talk about it back then, and I was the only person that talked about that. You know, so people on the left, and people on the left don't really call me right wing or anything, but if people on the left try and question me saying I'm right wing, it's just stupid, guys. It's just stupid. there's nuance in different sectors. You understand?
Telling me the complete opposite.
Yeah, well, they do that to everybody. It's like they do that. Like, I mean, they even talk and they even called like Biden and Trump.
But what is your point about the strike in
Doha?
Doha? You don't think I'm against that?
No, I'm not talking about them against that. I'm talking about you always put like that hostages front and center.
Yeah.
Right? And we have told you many times, Piers, for 2 years, it's never about the hostages. It's never about the hostages. But you will put people, what about the hostages? And we told you, Netanyahu doesn't care about the hostages. We told you from different sources, from the Israeli government, it's not about the hostages.
They should be released, right, Bassem? They should be released.
Yeah, they should release, but it doesn't matter if you have 50 hostages or 20 hostages. You don't decimate a whole country, a whole people.
But I agree.
Yeah, it's true.
It is not an excuse.
True.
I agree with
Here's
you.
the thing. My question.
Bassem, I agree with you.
Why should you even take Israel for any word that is said? Right? They lied about not targeting civilians. They lied about not targeting doctors, women, children, building. They lied about the intention not to displace people in Gaza, and they're doing it. They lied about being like everybody's.
I don't think you've watched my show for a while, have you, Bassem? Because otherwise you would know that if you had watched my show, you would know that one of the Bassem, if I may respond, you would know if you'd watched my show for the last few months that one of my biggest criticisms is Israel's refusal to allow international media into Gaza to independently verify what's been going on. Because my strong suspicion is that when they finally get in there, they will find a lot of evidence of war crimes. I've said that very loudly and clearly.
Well, I'm sorry, Piers. The Israeli soldiers, they film on TikTok their war crimes and they put it in the world. Do you? I'm sorry. Anybody who knows anything about an army, any army, know that army is all about this. Those people are not going around with their mobile phone shooting this and putting out unless the army is letting them. Because I don't think the British army or the French army or the Egyptian army or the American army will allow their soldiers shooting this and putting it unless there is some sort of unwritten rules like, show them what we can do.
Right. So it's almost like mocking. It's almost like taunting, you know. The British Army, if they're doing crazy war crimes, Australian, the US Army, they would never film this stuff and put it up online for everybody to see.
It's not just like a bunch of...
But I've called that stuff out, as you know. Or maybe you don't know.
Yeah,
I said it's totally wrong.
But
some of these passages is never enough for you, you see. It doesn't matter how critical journalists are about Israel. It will never be enough for you. Because you want the right to suggest that Charlie Kirk was the subject of a hit job by Israel. You want the world to think that. That's why you said what you said. And that's why when I asked you went, Netanyahu says it wasn't him.
By the way.
Who thinks that? Comment section down below. Who thinks that?
I'm not even the only one. People are actually... Here's the thing. If you continue lying to your people, right? I'll tell you what. Let's call me a conspiracy theorist, right?
Yeah.
Call me someone who is illogical. Call me whatever you want. If your government continues to lie to you consistently, this is where conspiracy theorists thrive. If you're not transparent...
Why do you want to be one?
100%. That's literally why I have my channel, guys. I talk about conspiracy theories in the Irish government every single day.
If you want to cover... No. I'm not saying I'm...
Why? Why float a mad conspiracy theory about Israel?
Because it's the internet and I'm a comedian.
Okay, but it's not that funny though, is it?
Actually, a lot of people thought it was very funny.
You have millions, I'm sure they did, but millions of people follow you, and you want them to think that Israel is behind the murder of Charlie Kirk. And you call me an ill-informed, irresponsible journalist.
Yeah, because I'm not a journalist. I'm a comedian. Remember, I'm a clown. I
don't think you're a clown.
That's what I do. Oh, I'm a clown. Actually, I'm a comedian. Comedians are actually overpaid.
But I think there's somebody who is so blindly hateful of all things Israel that you'll even promote a conspiracy theory, which is obvious nonsense, that they have something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder.
I'm not blindly hateful of Israel. I'm actually eyes wide open hateful of Israel.
Sure. But unfortunately,
I don't think anyone's blindly... Like, I do think that Hamas have to get back hostages, and I do not support Hamas and that kind of thing. But definitely there's been war crimes, you know, a lot of them.
And it's driven you to promote conspiracy theories about their potential involvement in Charlie Kirk's murder.
I just released a video today, and I told them, you need to give us better lives. I didn't even mention that I said, like, this is a hit job. It was a hit job. Whether it was like a...
You inferred it was Israel, and when I asked you about it, you went on a little rant about Netanyahu. Everyone can see it for what it is.
No. Okay. So call me a conspiracy theorist.
I mean... He's just throwing ideas out there. Who knows what happened? We'll never know what happened, lads. Like, let's be honest. We'll never know what actually happened or who was funding it or whatever, but who knows?
No, I think you're doing it quite deliberately because you hate Israel so much. You want to associate with every bad thing that's going on in the world. Well, I prefer to be a bit more nuanced about it. Let me ask you before we finish about the Elon Musk intervention in the UK protests at the weekend, the Unite the Kingdom rally organised by Tommy Robinson. What was your view of that?
So I said yesterday that I'm not a fan of Tommy Robinson. What I mean by that, guys, because definitely not a fan of him. He's pretty hateful towards certain religions, which I don't think is valid in certain areas. Secondly, I really love Elon Musk. I like a lot of the stuff that Trump says, but really, like, it's nuanced points, you know? Like, Elon Musk has electrical cars. You could say that he's helping save the environment, for instance, right? I don't know. There's lots of different things that you could say that you like about certain people that you don't like about certain other people, right?
Actually, there was a scene that I found it very interesting. I felt like the Maori, which is the indigenous people of New Zealand, they were doing like a traditional dance, like a haka dance, and they were like tearing off the Palestinian flag, which I found it very
that was weird. The haka, they were tearing off the Palestinian flag. It's just very odd. Like, don't agree with that either, guys. Very strange. Like,
indigenous people tearing off Palestine. Well, let's talk about Toby Robinson. This guy has been in Israel many times, and he has like IDF shirts and Mossad shirts all over. Should we actually call that a conspiracy theory, that he's not like actually like someone who's been pushing a certain agenda, or that also?
No, he's obviously been pushing a certain agenda. He's very pro-Israel, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's not a conspiracy theory.
And that's why I don't support him.
No, it's a fact.
So Israel openly causing civil unrest in London. In London, Israel has been openly causing all of these problems. Israel has been openly.
But he's not Israeli, is he?
No. But he is being put by Israel. Like, Israel doesn't have to. Like, I mean,
he was doing this stuff long before Israel came along.
The 525 Congress people out of the 535, which is 98% of Congress, they're all paid by Israel and not Israelis, and they're causing more damage to American public more than anything. So the thing is, and let me tell you something that like it might actually make you see where I come from. If you are a citizen of a country, and it is the superpower of the world, it is one of. By the way, I like living in the United States. The United States is a great country, and the people here are great. I have never had a single bad day here because the people here are lovely, and it's a great country, a great protection, wonderful people. But when you see that all of your politicians, all of your representatives are openly financed by a raw country that is indicted in the ICC and ICJ. And just last year we sent them $30 billion, and we sent them billions and billions of dollars, and we see all of our infrastructure is falling. You will also hate that country. You know, it's not that even if Gaza is resolved today, I don't see it resolved in a good way, right? Even that still stands. Israel is a leash on our system, on our country, on your country.
Right, can we get back to the rally? Can we get back to the rally in London? That was the question I asked you. And whether you think it was right for Elon Musk to get involved in the way that he did, and to say you have to fight violence on the left, and you have to fight back. What did you think of that?
I mean, isn't that inciting violence? The richest guy in the world, who has the biggest platform in the world, who, by the way, just suspended the Twitter account of that flotilla that going there to Israel, which is making him very biased. But I don't understand. The guy, it's crazy now that we're seeing people in tech using their power to incite violence. It is crazy and it is unacceptable. And I think you, as a British citizen yourself, should be worried. You should be worried.
I think he was trying to say fight back against the woke left. Not sure exactly. I did a video on that talking about how Elon Musk was supporting that rally and stuff. Definitely in certain aspects was good, you know, crazy woke left, people cancelling people and all that kind of jazz. But was he inciting violence against the left? I mean, the left started it, obviously, but yeah, it is a kind of an odd one. Like, you have the leader there inciting violence against others, but he's kind of saying fight back. He's not saying like fight them. He's like saying fight back against the crazies, right?
Because for the past 2 months, non-stop, daily, Elon Musk has been tweeting about Muslim gangs raping women, and he's even like getting cases from 1991, where statistics say that actually 85% of rape and criminal crimes are actually done by white people. So I don't understand. Is that helpful? Is that healthy to England?
Well, what was not healthy was a massive cover-up going on with the almost exclusively British Pakistani gangs who were grooming and raping many young girls, including underage girls, for many years, and it was deliberately covered up to avoid creating any racial tension. And then subsequent governments single-handedly failed to deal with this and made it worse. So yeah, that was a real scandal, and Robinson was very vocal about it, and it played into his hands as an example of the establishment working to cover up the sexual abuse of young girls.
Yes, the cover-up of sex and abuse of young girls and men should not, go away like Tom Alexandrovich, who actually escaped. That's a lot of cover-up. I mean,
presumably you would condemn. You would condemn those British. You would condemn those British. You would condemn, I presume, those British Pakistani men for what they did to those girls, right?
Well, Piers Morgan's a bit of a bastard because he's like, "Oh, would you condemn them?" Like, obviously he would, guys. Like, obviously, guys. Like, come on.
So, and I would condemn the governments who covered up for them.
Yeah,
Okay,
and who runs the governments that covered up for them?
She asked them to be brought to trial.
Yeah, I agree.
The same way that everybody in the FBI should be brought to trial for covering up Epstein files and Tom Alexandrovich.
I agree with that as well. FBI should be brought to trial because covering up the Epstein files, 100%.
Okay, I don't disagree.
Good.
Let's end on a note of agreement. Good to have you back in our sense, Bassem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, guys. I truly think that a lot of that stuff, Piers Morgan gets wrong. He tries to say certain things like, the woke left and this kind of thing, but I don't think he understands exactly what's happening, in this world. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. That's my left-wing liberal video for the week, for the month. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. I love you guys all. I mean, definitely Bernie Sanders is a great guy to look out for. Check out Bassem Youssef as well. He has some great talking points. Do I agree with everything they say? No. I don't agree with everything anyone says, to be perfectly honest, but I take points from certain people and I try and portray them to the beautiful Irish people. I love you all. If you want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. We have 26 members now. Become a member for just €3 per month and help support me push back against the mainstream media, guys, because the mainstream media is dead. And I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.